Yes! Yes! We did it. So welcome to the Gavel Strikes, although it doesn't seem like the Gavel Strikes. We're on the set. We're on the set of the Tonight Show.
You are correct, sir.
I am.
If you're
Brian
too,
Wiedman. This is.
I'm Rick
Ed
Akers.
McMahon. I mean Rick Akers,
yes.
not Ed McMahon. And I've got to be honest with you. We are crazy excited about this. We got to do something, and I have to thank, the guys behind the scene, Josh and Tommy, for setting this up and allowing this to happen. Getting the permission from everybody. We had to talk to the consignor. We had to do a lot of stuff, but we get to do the podcast on the Tonight Show. And we're probably going to be the only people on the planet who can say that. I mean, who else is going to ever, even if you buy it, you're not going to really do a podcast on it.
It's an honor and a privilege, and I have to say that if you were to see the way that our gallery here is set up right now,
belief.
It is absolutely
It's a throwback to everything you loved as a kid. I can't be more honored. So we have a great show for you today. A little bit of gimmicky, and some here and there, but Xavier couldn't make it. He had a last-second trip out to Missouri. He had to fly into St. Louis, and then they had to drive to literally nowhere. Yeah. So they're picking up a consignment, him and Matt Griffin. So Rick's
it's usually
in.
you.
It's usually me. Yeah.
You're usually the one that's off flying, and me and Xavier are here.
I am, yeah.
Watching you pick up all kinds of great stuff.
Yeah. So well, that's okay. I'm happy with, because if I would have missed this, I'd have been traumatized. I'd have been really upset. So. And I thank Rick for showing up last second. So we have a great show for you. We're going to jump right into art because Rick and I both have a lot of books to show. Typically, I would start with one or the other and then kind of segue into art and break it up. But I don't have too much art, and the reason that we're doing it this way is specifically because the easel needs to be shortened up and manipulated for you guys. But the first thing I brought is this really cool piece. And again, I'm not Xavier. I don't know as much about art as he does. But I brought things that are kind of cool. This is the Teen Titans 19 cover. And what's really neat about this, you'll see that they have these acetate overlays at times just to show the stats. But this is what the original art looks like. It's done just amazingly well. You have the whole team there, and man, I mean, who wouldn't want this page? And then that's what it looks like with the stat, which a more comic book version. Now, me personally, I don't like the overlay. I'd rather have the stats on it like it's supposed to be, done right. But, I mean, to each their own. You do it however you see fit and however you like hanging on a wall. How would you like it? Would you like it with the overlay, or would you like it with the stats on the piece?
I prefer the stats on the page because I personally don't like having gloss over the inks. I like to be able to see things. But this looks better than a lot of the ones I've seen.
Yes.
It's pretty clean. And the overlay is really clean.
Right. And the other argument with having the overlay versus the stats is there's original art. I mean, so you'd be covering up original art, if you had the stats on it.
That's a good
which is
point.
an argument against doing it,
Yeah.
with stats. You do it with the overlay. To me, personally, like you said, the gloss, I think it looks more authentic when it's got the stats on it.
You know what I mean? Like if this were a piece that I wanted to really go all the way with, I would almost make a frame where this was framed and then the stat was framed separately but had a sliding mechanism.
Oh man, now you're getting so technical and complicated.
Yeah.
I like that. It's kind of like the pieces we were talking about where you would not put the paper on the back. You'd have it double glass, or you could flip it over to however you wanted. That's kind of cool. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it would be.
I mean, if you're gonna do it the way you want to do it.
It's a pretty sweet cover.
That is a sweet cover, and it's a cover. I mean, that's kind of neat. And the artist is Brian Hitch, and it's a variant cover, which is cool. But again, covers are so valuable. Yeah. And this one's
has a
at
lot of
$1,000.
all kinds of characters.
It's got everybody on it.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you want? It's at $1,000. It's going to go higher, but I mean, it's not a Bronze Age cover or Silver Age cover, which would go for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So having a cover in the weekly auction, that's going off tomorrow. Sure, it's at $1,000, but if you want a great cover, it's a great modern cover for you.
Absolutely.
Next one I brought is also a cover, even though it somewhat doesn't look like it. It looks almost like a convention sketch. But I really like this, and this is, it's an X-Men cover, and it's got Professor X. Shout out to Xavier for not being here. We call him X. And then it's got Magneto in the background. This great play between two of the greatest minds in the Marvel universe. Here, one for good, one for bad. I don't know if they really needed to do the X on the tie, the X-Men symbol on the tie. I think that was a little bit of overkill there. But outside of that, I love this. This is a great cover. And Tommy, can you show us who?
It's very clean.
Who did that? And you can see again, no stats. They didn't even do do the borders. It looks like typically you have the borders. So it's really one of those great pieces. I would love to have it.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet one.
That to me would be awesome. On the wall.
Yeah, it's pretty great. There's elements of this that remind me of some of Frazetta's work. I mean, not Frazetta's work, Miller's work.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
I love it. And it's nicely inked too. I think that adds a lot of the detail to it, is how nicely inked.
Well,
it
this
is.
next one is ridiculous.
This is really cool.
Wow.
I just pulled up this page splash. It's an Uncanny X-Men annual, number 18. It's a nice.
This is in a weekly
double
this
page.
week?
This is a weekly. Yeah, the double page.
Every time I sub and come in here, I see something that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. That I'm like, whoa, and that's just one of them.
That brings up a really good point. We get questions all the time. Hey, do you have this coming up? Hey, do you have that coming up? Especially with comic books. And my answer to that is I don't have the foggiest clue, because I see less than 1% of every auction.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I mean, even when I look through the auction, I miss things. There's so much in our sale, and this is one of them I saw, and I was like, really? This is in the auction? But I mean, you've got Beast, you've got all the girls, you've got Professor X in the corner, and it's a great double page splash. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, this is pretty great.
This would look amazing on the wall. Jubilee has been kidnapped by Caliban. There's a ransom note in there. They're figuring out what to do. I mean, and that's Ian Churchill.
What?
And
that's at $425. I'll take 5.
Yeah. You would be crazy not to go after this. If you like the X-Men, this is about it.
Yeah, sweet.
That is just awesome. So I don't know what more you're looking for if you're holding your breath waiting for a great X-Men piece. Even though it doesn't have action on it, it doesn't matter. It's the piece itself speaks.
See, for me, right around 1993 or so, 94 is the latest that I was really involved with anything that much. Everything I'm into is before that.
Sure.
But when I see something like that, it makes me rethink.
There are great
like with people that I'm not even that familiar
there.
with. I'm not that familiar with Churchill.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Winston, but Ian, I'm not as familiar with. And so that shows my
really
age right
funny.
there.
I like that.
Oh, well, here we go.
Well, in this, I brought this along. I'm not a big fan of Mickey Mouse. I've never really liked him. However, that being said, when we get Mickey Mouse art in, they're a little edgier sometimes than Walt Disney Comics and Stories, or, and this was one of those when I started. This is from 1973, I think, from what I remember. And if you read this, it's a sham. He's going to get his weight fortune, and Goofy runs off. He's going to be rich, and then his Mickey's fortune is be aggressive in your romantic affairs, be a tiger, and he comes running up to Minnie, and he gives her this big kiss, and she gets really offended and clobbers him, and I thought that was kind of edgy for Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
that's very aggressive for him.
Now this is after Godfredson's
This is
time.
well after Godfredson.
Yeah,
so
I have some Godfredson pieces.
This is Manuel Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Godfredson was more in the 40s.
Yeah, I have
40s,
some
50s.
50s. Yeah,
and his stuff is even edgier. I mean, it's pretty dark for Mickey. Mickey wasn't this, kid-like poster child, back in the 40s. He was a lot more gruesome graphic. You know, he gets his tail cut off early on, and you know, all these sorts of things, and he fights the Nazis, and so his history is a lot darker in general, his origin, but they watered him down to be more kid friendly later on. But this isn't as kid friendly as you know he normally was.
Yeah, speaking of gruesome and graphic and not kid friendly.
Oh, you've got some stuff coming up.
I definitely have some stuff coming up.
Knocks your socks off. We have some items that are going to be. Well, you tell them about it, Rick. That was our last. Well, anyway, this is in the weekly sale that ends tomorrow, or tonight. I'm sorry, tonight, and all the art is, and then Rick's items showing up that end tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night.
I was going to bring that one too.
Yeah, if you go to ha.com/47153, ha.com/47153. That's the Jack and Joni Kump Horror and Weird Tales collection, full of just incredible.
You got this pulp collection that was massive, right?
Yeah.
And you've broken them up into themes, right?
We got a huge pulp collection back last year that, I mean, close to 5,000 pulps.
That's
over 4,000. And we've taken it and we've broken it out by themes. And we've done several auctions already. And the one that's happening tomorrow night is the one that's horror themed and Weird Tales, which is
that's the one everybody wants. It's the creme de la creme.
It's the most popular title in pulps for sure. Right. And so this is what's going on. It's tomorrow night, and this is one of the great books that we got from this.
Now you did Detective already, right? Detective was the last
one?
We
did Detective. Detective was the last one, and it was very well received.
Oh, it was insane. Because you had the one, is that the one with the serpent, or is that?
Sign of the Serpent, yeah.
That one went for a crazy amount of money. The Clown went for a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
When I talk about these, they're just images that are popping in my head.
Yeah, I mean, pulp magazines, began, in the early 1900s. And they have really had a collector base all this time. But what's happening now, CGC is going to be grading pulp magazines sometime later this year, supposedly September, October. And so having them certify them gives collector confidence in it as a collectible. And so if you look at Golden Age comic books and the growth and explosion that's happened in Golden Age comic books over the last 8 to 10 years especially, a lot of it has been very cover driven.
Very cover driven.
Yeah.
Incredibly much so.
Very much.
And so that's the thing with pulps. Yes, there are great stories on the inside. A lot of pulp writers got a lot of the major writers got their starts in pulps. Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I can't even think of. There's dozens and dozens of other massive names, but
huge names in pulps. And this one here, The Strange Stories, from June 1939, has a severed head cover by Rudolph Belarski, and this is in very fine. What do we have? A very fine condition,
which is incredibly rare.
Yeah, very fine minus that. Yeah, you just don't see pulps from the 30s that look this clean very often.
So on the scale of comic book wise, when you hear very fine for a pulp, we're talking really about a 9.2, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like the upper echelon on a 10-point scale. Pulps aren't graded the same way as a comic book by any means.
It's very difficult to find pulps from the 30s in very fine condition. It is like finding comic books in like a 9.2.
Right.
And so whenever you hear about a pulp even in fine, very fine, that's like an 8. That's like a 8.0 or 8.5. Maybe even a 9.0, especially when you get into older pulps.
Right.
I mean, there's going to be, as pulps begin to be graded, there's going to be a lot of pulps when the census eventually comes out, where a 7.0 is going to be the highest copy, or a 6.0, or a 6.0.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that when you have an opportunity now to purchase a book like this, it's something to definitely go after, and we have some great ones.
Yeah, I mean, these can get really gruesome. Brundage covers are a big deal from the Weird Tales.
Yeah.
you brought this one, which I was going to bring. I brought another one that I thought was really cool. I hadn't seen before. They're really neat.
Yeah, they're pretty intense. I mean, they're definitely not politically correct by today's standards.
Well, it also shows how our country is very cyclical. Because you notice that these are going on, but they were censored in the 50s, and then they were allowed a lot more relaxation, and then there was a lot more censorship again, and now we kind of go back and forth with that in our country.
Well, there's a huge demand for it, and there's also a lot of interest from collectors in Americana and in the history.
Right.
And this Terror Tales, October 1934 in fine plus condition. This has a really classic John Howitt cover. And Howitt did work. It's funny, when you look at Howitt's work, a lot of it is like children playing and families hanging out, because he did design for Saturday Evening Post in the 1920s.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was with Saturday Evening Post in the 1920s. And then when the Depression came, the magazine industry was hit very hard. And so he began to do freelance covers like this. And he did a number of terror tales and horror stories, and he did a lot of spider covers. And so his work is fantastic. I mean,
if you like skeletons, like I do,
yeah.
like I love pre-code horror, so all this stuff is stuff I absolutely love. And when we're talking about rare, we talk about rare in a way that we overuse, I think, in comics sometimes. When we say rare, I think you're going to see, especially with that Terror Tales, that might be the highest graded. That might be the highest graded by a grade and a half, and you might only see 10 on the census by the time it's done. I mean, they're not as common when you get until you get to the 40s, right?
Yeah, I mean, the paper drives, I believe, I think that the paper drives got rid of a lot of stuff from the 30s. When you think about comic books, I mean, other than some of the early Platinum Age stuff, so when you talk about the superhero comics beginning in 1938, so you had a period there from 1938 to 1941 or 42 that those books have, in many cases, have lower volume because of paper drives and things like that. Now you're talking about pulps from 1909 or early 1900s all the way through. There's a
massive amount of paper drives.
Amount of paper drives
with a lot of paper in them.
Yeah, and I think that, like, when you see something like this Terror Tales cover, you'll see that from 1930, I think it's 39, yes, that these may have gotten thrown out.
Easily.
You know what I'm saying?
Easily.
Yeah. So Mom might not like that being around, although this would have been Dad's, he had copy probably.
But I read it for the articles, Rick, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I read it for the articles, which brings up a good point later on. This is the one I wanted to bring along because I'd never seen it before. And they came up with these real clever torture devices for some reason. Bronzing a woman or, death ray or whatever. But this torture device just had me laughing because they strapped her down to where she can't turn her torso, but they're turning her, her hips.
Yeah.
And so there's always a guy in a red hood. There are always these hooded guys in the middle of it, skulls on the. But that's kind of. I mean, these things are they're amazing. If you look and watch this sale, you're going to see bidding like you've never seen before.
Yeah, there's a lot of live action on these pulp sales, so I would definitely get on there and check it out. Now here is, how there's Action Comics 1 and Marvel Comics 1 and Detective 27. This here is kind of the Marvel Comics 1 of pulps. This is the first issue of Weird Tales from March 1923. This is a first state copy. You can tell by the orange border that's around here.
And what does that mean?
Well, they kind of did two different presses of this.
Okay, and so printings almost.
Yeah, and this is the first one. It has kind of orange around the border, orange, the man's shirt's orange, the woman has a black bow. This is only the fourth copy we've had. And so this here, because the back cover is missing 3/4 of the cover and the last page is missing most of the page, this is a poor condition. But I'm telling you, this book, I mean, to have an opportunity to get this book
ever
is definitely something to take advantage of, and this is going to be, and this presents fantastic.
Yeah, on the front it does.
Yeah, it presents like a VG fine.
And if you saw if you saw the price there flash up, we showed the link. You know, it's at $18.50. I can only imagine how far that goes from there. It's going to go a lot. You can put in 2 bids right now. I guarantee you're not going to hold that bid. It's if it even doesn't just automatically outbid you and somebody has a higher. That book is rare. Like you said, 4 times in our history. That's 22 years we've been doing this.
Yeah.
That comes out once every 5 or 6 years. That's so rare. So rare.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely check out ha.com/47153 for tomorrow night's pulp auction.
I could actually have brought nothing but pulps from that sale and been happy talking about them the whole time.
But you did bring some that were kind of inspired by pulps.
Well, that's just it. Well, you know, everybody knows I like pre-code horror. I talk about it all the time, and so I always tend to bring it. And I apologize, I don't bring much Silver Age and Bronze Age, and the reason I don't is because I see it all the time. That's, you know, when I'm on these trips, that's all I'm picking up, or Silver Age, Bronze Age, and the reason for that is the time period. 1960s, people are getting now to be 70, ish years old, as they were, because they were born in the 1950s, they were collecting in the 1960s. They're 70, so they're doing one of 2 things. They're starting to pass away, they're retiring, they're thinking of the future. So we're getting a massive amount of Silver Age. I don't know if you've run into that a lot, but those are the calls I'm getting. Silver Age, Silver Age, Silver Age, which is great. It's worth a lot of money, but I that's all I see now. I never get the call for Golden Age. I never get the call for, Golden Age art. It never shows.
Golden Age art,
it
never
doesn't
shows
exist.
Yeah.
Forgive me for not bringing Silver Age all the time. We just see it so much. We like to show off things we don't get to see very often.
And I will have one Silver Age.
You will have one, and I brought one, but we have so much that I didn't. I opted not to bring it. So my love is pre-code horror, and also the pre-code war, so to speak.
Yeah, pre-code horror, so war, crime. And
1950 to 1955. I say it almost every show is so rare.
That war auction we just had was
was awesome. Yeah. But lesser known is romance.
Yeah.
Romance stuff, even though this is a little later on, this is 1958, but romance items are not as easy to get. And this is My Romantic Adventures 96, and it's a 4.0, and it's done by ACG. And the thing to that is we have about, between 20 and 50 romance books that are slabbed in a signature series this week up for auction. And I was so shocked that I was just looking at the images going, I should bring that one, no, I should bring that one. And I just pulled one and went, there's so many, you just need to look at it. And this doesn't even have a bid on it, but it just started. So it just started today. Don't be fooled. That $0 bid is not going to be there for long. But these are rare. I don't know what the census is on this. In general, romance stuff it was thrown out because it was a kiddie thing. In the signature series, this is the only one that exists.
Right.
So the only signature series copy of this that exists. This is what I like too. You get especially LB Cole covers, which are not easy to find. Romance stuff is so cool.
Yeah, I love it.
And so esoteric because people threw them out. They were a kid thing. They were a young teenager, whether it was a girl or a boy thing. Nobody kept them.
It's kind of funny because when you look at these romance books, and I've collected a lot of romance books over the years. You would think the girls would take care of their books better. Come on, girls.
No.
They didn't. I swear the girls read through their books and reread them and everything.
Or cut out the cutouts.
Yeah.
And played with the Katie Keens would have the cutouts. Those would be cut out all the time.
It's very, very tough to find romance books in grade.
And what's funny is there was this recently. I heard this a couple of years ago. Is that boys collected way more than girls, and it wasn't a girl hobby. Oh no! Back in the 40s and the 50s. Girls were collecting and reading comics just as much. It didn't matter what anybody says; they were doing. I can see girl names on the covers all the time.
Yeah.
So absolutely, girls were maybe it's a for every 1.4 guys there is a girl collecting, but it's not as rare as you think it is that women were collecting comics.
And women were on the covers of comics.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun to go back and forth here.
Absolutely.
Rula, one of the great Fox books. Let's see if I get that good there. There we go. Rula 21. And great Jack Kamen cover. There's 24 of these in Universal on the Census.
That's a low number.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. $23.
It just started today.
Yeah, that's true. It just started. But this one has, this has pretty vibrant reddish orange there. I mean, it's a pretty strong color. And great good girl art.
And if you can't see it, it's a 6.5 because this isn't the old holder, which is not common much anymore either.
Yeah, this is a great book, and I definitely encourage bidding on these. These are so great. These Iger Shop Studio books that Fox was doing. They have such. And if you haven't seen the insides, the interiors on these have they're as good as the covers.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic art. So definitely one to check out.
What's a lot of fun is, when I fell in love with these, I'm a big fan of, I don't like cats too much in general, but big cats, I love tigers.
Yeah.
So, and I love lions and Black Panthers. And so when I would go through the Gerber photo journal, I'd be like, I want that cover, it's got an eagle. I want that cover, it's got a Black Panther. I want that cover, it's got a girl being eaten by a Black Panther. Or, I love those covers. Jungle, Jumbo, Planets, anything with all JoJo, Rula, Zoot, all that stuff. I love it so much.
They're pretty great. So. They're definitely. I mean, they have a pretty strong collecting market, but I still feel like they're underrepresented in terms of interest, because in terms of the quality of the art, I think they're up there with anything else.
Absolutely. I predict that and the pulp auction is going to be really, really good. But I also have other predictions. I have other predictions. I'm channeling my inner Johnny Carson and Karnak the Magnificent. And we're going to do something that we haven't ever done before. And what are we doing here? I get the feeling, well, sir, you actually sound like Ed McMahon.
I'm working on it. Yes.
That's good.
All right.
You got to get the chuckle down, though.
I don't think I
can't do that.
No.
So what are we doing? So,
I think we have something here for you to predict.
So this is a prediction. So Johnny used to do Karnak the Magnificent.
You know what question is in there.
I do. I have the answer.
I
can pull out the answer.
He doesn't know the question. He does not know the question, but he's going to use his mental telepathy to figure it out.
Okay. My mental telepathy. I will say, what shall I say? Speedy.
Speedy?
Speedy.
Okay.
And the question is, if Jeff Goldblum were to be in a DC movie, what character should he play? That's actually really funny.
I think Goldblum is...
Goldblum. Yes. Goldblum can play anything.
Yes.
I will go fast.
Yes. Oh, very good.
Very
good.
That is very good. I think we're going to do more of these. I like this. You have another one for me.
All right, I do. Here's another one right here for you.
Channeling my inner Carson, I will go with, I see the answer is trepidation.
Trepidation is the answer. And the question is, how did you feel when your last CGC submission came back 8.5 when you thought it would be 9.4 after your press? Trepidation.
That is actually pretty accurate, right? That's actually more of a prediction of accuracy here.
I've got one more for you. Since you're on such a roll, I've got one more for you.
Okay. Oh, let's see here. I love that Carson used to do this. One time I was watching skits of this. He poked himself. That was terrible. Let's see here. I'm going to go with, I really wanted to go with that. I'm going to go with it anyway. Godzilla. If you could pick one comic character to play your love interest in a movie, which one would you pick? Godzilla. Okay, then. That is actually really funny.
You like the fire.
I knew it would be tough to handle.
He's always going to storm Tokyo. It's going to be a problem.
Oh, that is a riot. I actually like doing that. That was kind of fun.
That was fun.
I may have to incorporate that. we came up with that because Xavier has a book of like really, really rare known facts about the comic, comic books in general and stuff like that. He's going to bring that in, and we're gonna try and do something with that.
That sounds fun.
I actually like doing that.
That was pretty good. You did well.
I'm not bad.
You did Carson right there.
And hopefully he's not rolling in his grave yelling at me.
No. So. If you had the turban, you would have even.
Yeah, a little out of character for now. But.
Yeah.
So what else do we have? You want to go?
Sure. We talked about earlier, about pre-code type horror and crime. Punch Comics, Chesler, Punch Comics 13. This is a 5.0, and this is.
I almost brought this one. I actually nixed bringing this one because I have 2 other Cheslers with me.
You know what's pretty great about this one is when you look at the tombstone. It's the artists of Chesler's name.
I love when they do that.
Yeah, Tuska and Rika and Smith and I can't read the other one right there. Pipers, yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty sweet. But I mean, these Chesler books, they're some of my favorite Golden Age
tough.
They are tough.
And tough.
And we just started, so this is going to go for many, many multiples of where it's sitting right now, obviously. But I mean, great blacks on this, like just a sweet cover with
the skeleton hand coming down.
Yeah.
And he's being shot to let her go, but she's being dropped into the grave. I mean, just awesome book.
Yeah, from 1945. I just love these. And I think, Cheslers are some of the best things out there.
They are.
Sure.
They really are. Their art's great. The subject matters. And that brings me to mine because, I brought Cheslers. I brought a Dynamic Comics,
that was awesome.
number 16. And I've always liked this because of the, this weird cover. I mean, this weird alien who's got wings and propellers on his ears, and he's stomping on everything. But I mean, these books are rare. You don't see them every day. In slabbed, unslabbed. I mean, the next one I have is a beautiful book.
And they're I'm telling you, Chesler's red inks have held up and were redder.
Very much so.
They're better than anybody else's.
It's almost like they put something in the ink itself so it wouldn't bleed.
Yeah, it's
because
kind of amazing.
This Dynamic Comics, this is number 19.
That's pretty.
And look at how beautiful that is.
That's a nice one. That's a nice shape.
The 16 or the 18 was in VG. This one's nicer.
Yeah,
it's absolutely beautiful.
What are we calling that? Fine?
Fine minus.
It's a nice looking fine minus, actually.
Is that a fine minus? Can't see. Yeah, fine minus. It's gorgeous.
Nice.
Absolutely beautiful. How bright the colors are here. And I've always liked the marionette covers. All Star has a couple has one of them.
Oh yeah, Dynamic 11 has kind of it has the guy over the test tube, test tubes.
Yeah, that's a great
It's not marionette, but it has the same kind of feeling to it.
I love that test tube one.
It's awesome.
So, but you could probably search for 10 years and not get a full run of Punch and Dynamic.
No. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know the 12 will cost you tens of thousands of dollars, but Punch, good luck finding a 4. I mean, or just this random book that you.
Of course, 12 is going to be.
12 is going to be the expensive, but
and
see
9
that every
is really
once
high
in a while,
too.
right?
Yeah.
You see those 2 every once in a while, but the 4.
Yeah.
The 7? I never see those books ever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we have a Punch 12 coming up in our signature book.
I love that book.
Yeah. So here is, I mean, this one has phenomenal.
We're
color.
on the same wavelength because all these books that you're bringing, I actually didn't bring.
Look at that color.
Yeah.
I mean, that color is fantastic.
It's an 8.5.
More Fun 79 in 8.5. This is a Green Arrow Speedy cover. There's 15 Universal on the census. That's it. And there's only 2 higher than this. This is a sweet book. More Fun. I mean, you think about More Fun, and you've got so many great things that happen in More Fun, right?
Right.
Lots of great characters, lots of first appearances, all kinds of stuff.
It introduced half of the DC universe.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And so, I mean, I love this book. I love these DC books. I love Spectre. I mean, so I just don't think you can go wrong with this.
No, not at an 8.5 either.
Right.
I mean, I can't even tell you what the census is on that, but there can't be more
15.
than...
There's 15.
There's 15?
Yeah.
There's probably no more than 1 or 2 at the above that. Yeah, there's only 2 copies above it.
Yeah, that's right.
15.
Is that surprising?
Wow. I mean, I knew more funds were rare in general, but 15 is a low number.
That does surprise me.
For 79, that's a low number.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, let's go back to pre-code horror.
Okay.
Just because I can, right? Look at this. This magazine is haunted.
Well,
kind of like
cover.
the set. The set is not haunted. You know what's really cool? If you let's get away from the comics for a second. If you look over my right shoulder here, that's Sonny Bono's costume, and next to it you can't really see it, but it's Cher's costume.
Wow.
So Sonny and Cher's costume are sitting next to me on this set, and we've got the most iconic set on late night television behind us, the chairs, and then we're haunting it with This Magazine is Haunted, number 11 at a 5.5. Great skeleton cover. I love skeletons. They're planning on hanging him. I've always liked the thought of people, bad guys, getting their just desserts. I believe in karma. I really do.
It says Moldoff and Powell Art. I don't know if those who did the cover, but those are two pretty big names in comics
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, that's a great book.
That's
I love
awesome.
pre-code horror. They're just so clever in getting revenge for people who have been wronged.
While we're kind of on that path, this is, I mean, right here,
This book is rare.
yeah, Weird Comics 1 is a very significant Fox book. And this one is a chance to get this at a discounted rate because of restoration. It's a Tusca and Simon cover. It does have restoration. It's got color touch. It's got pieces added. It's got cover reinforced. It's got tear seals. A piece of cover reattached with one piece of archival tape. But I mean, this.
When's the last time you've seen one blue label, regular blue label?
You know, we see them, like we have seen a few lately, but then they'll dry up for years and years. And this one has great color. I mean, it really does. I mean, look at that. Just hold that shot right there. Wow. I mean, that is a beauty of a copy. And I'll tell you, in my collection, I've had some Golden Age books like this. I actually enjoy cracking them out and having them raw because in your hand,
they're brighter.
Yeah,
the mile highs are like that. If you,
Yeah.
if you crack a mile high, it's muted in its case, and people will crack it because they look so much nicer outside. I saw the Hit Comics, the Mile High Hit Comics run. This is before you had started.
Yeah.
I've never seen colors like that before. They almost look, the pages almost look wet, the covers.
Wow.
Because they're so bright and vibrant. It looked like they were literally just painted. It's unbelievable how beautiful that is. But when they got into case, I was like, that's not the same thing I saw.
Yeah.
It's because it's a little bit muted in that holder.
Yeah, but that Weird Comics is beautiful, and
Yeah.
and I definitely think that one's going to be of interest to a lot of people.
Okay. How about Marvel Comics number 57?
Nice.
And I love this because it's one or the other. Either Toro is in trouble and tied up. In this case, it's the girl, and they're saving him. And yes, this is a 2.0, but it's a great cover. I mean,
it sure
and
is.
you know, I can only imagine because I haven't. You know, I never read Golden Age myself, and I don't read it much when I see it because I never get it raw. You know, and when I do, if it's any kind of grade, I won't thumb through it too much other than a count of pages just to be careful with it. But stories sometimes just have a way. The artwork inside is just as important. You can imagine it's all gone. It's so sad. It's all gone. Yeah. You know, I mean, 90% of Golden Age artwork doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, there's very, very little out there in terms of Schomburg covers.
Can you imagine running across this cover? You know, I mean, how much you would just lose your mind because you found the cover. It blows my mind.
Yeah, Schomburg, I mean, he was his own, I mean, you know, prolific entity, probably, if not the most famous Golden Age comic artist. I think he's the most famous Golden Age artist.
Him and L.B. Cole. And Cole doesn't hold, you know, is second to him for sure. The thing about Schomburg is he didn't like space. He didn't like negative space.
Right.
Because I bet you just that little bit, this little bit, and this little bit, he was trying to figure out how to fill it up.
You gotta put somebody in there.
He never liked negative space. So he would never use that as a tool to show things off. He would actually fill it up with something.
And I'm going to hit you with, since you like skull covers, I'll hit you with one more here. Voodoo 14.
I love this.
This is really cool because this is one about a story where zombies take over the United States. And when zombies take over the United States, the first thing they need to do is judge beauty pageants.
It's hysterical.
But actually, what he's doing here is making a ledger of all these girls and how they're dying today.
Oh, that's a little gruesome.
It is a little gruesome, but there's 24 copies of this on the census. It's a 4.5. It's got a great combination of good girl art and PCH,
which you don't see very often.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's a good one.
Yeah, Voodoo's a great book. Great title.
It's a great title in general.
For sure.
Okay, I mentioned Pre-Code War.
This is one I was going to bring, and I saw you brought it.
This Battlefield 1, and listen, this book isn't going to go for tens of thousands of dollars, but I have to tell you, good luck finding another one. This is the first one I've ever seen. I've never seen one, even at Heritage. I don't run across Pre-Code War that much because people threw them away. They have gruesome covers. There is a very, very short window before the pre-code, before the comic code, and they had to change everything. And so you had this 1955 or 1950 to 55 period, the Korean War's going on. So you get these battlefields that came out.
So many black covers too.
So many black covers to keep nice. I don't know what the census is on this, but most of pre-code War in the right amount is 10 or less. Yeah, there's 12. There's 12 on the census of this, and that's
the number one
rare.
Atlas issue too. So that would be one people would be.
Yeah, I mean this is probably more common at 12. I mean I've seen others, like I used to own a GI in Battle number 5, and there were none on the census.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Well, there are a lot on the census, but everybody wants one.
Everybody wants one.
And this is, there's only a few of the UK price variant. So this is, I think, the third highest copy. Yeah, only 2 copies are higher.
For the UK
For
price
the UK variant, yeah. So,
and just so you know, UK price variants are way rarer than the US versions.
They are
way
rarer
on the order of 10 to 20 to 30 to 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a ridiculous number.
So the interesting thing is that this 7.0 is based on past UK price variants, will go for less than what a US version would. But, I mean, it's rarer.
It's caught up now. It's almost
really
equal
close
now.
And this is white pages too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm telling you, this is a beautiful copy. Looks great, white pages. First appearance of Dr. Doom, of course, and only 2 UK copies are higher. So definitely something to be checking out.
In my personal opinion, I mean, obviously you would go for a US copy, but would you ever kick a UK version out of your collection?
Absolutely not, no.
They're rare. I would collect it just based on that, personally. That's me. I like rare items.
You know what's rare? What's the beauty of Marilyn Monroe.
Oh yeah.
That's my way of segueing.
That's your way of segueing in. We were talking about Good Girl, and we don't get these very often in the weekly. Usually they're a little higher grade and they go in the signature sale, but I brought in a Playboy 1. Everybody asks, we get this question so much, do you take Playboys? Do you take Playboys? Yes, in the first year. In 1953, December of 53 was the first issue, and then 1954, and only very some of 1955. It's rare if we take 1956. And the reason for that is scarcity. So the early issues were not printed as much, they were not kept as much. But by 1960, they were printing 1 million copies a month. 1 million. And magazine, people ask us, do we take magazines? Well, yes, but they have to be rare. And magazines typically are, especially pre-1960, there was no TV, or TV wasn't as prevalent, so you would read a lot more, so you would print a lot more. So early Playboys, yes, because there aren't as many, but by 1960 there's 1 million a month, and by 1970 it was 5 million prints a month. 5 million copies. So when somebody says, "Oh, I have the Seinfeld issue," or "I read on the news," or "I read on an article saying the Seinfeld issue,"
I get that call a lot.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There were 5 million copies made. Right. Comparatively, a comic book, there weren't. I mean, even now print runs are only like 40,000 or 30,000 for your Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man only has a print run of 40,000 at this point. It's not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because that's something interesting to think about in terms of 20 or 30 years from
right,
now.
Absolutely.
We're in a low print run era for comics right now.
Low print run, but people are keeping better.
They are keeping more, yeah.
Keeping their items better, so it'll still skew, you know.
Yeah.
You could get rid of half the copies and there's still a lot out there in high grade.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the 1950s, it didn't happen. Even in the 1960s, it just didn't. Nobody was collecting back then, you know. It wasn't a medium to collect.
When I was a kid, even in the early to mid 70s, I mean, we were still putting our baseball cards on our bikes.
Bikes, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, anytime you see something, we get this call a lot too, where I've got this this thing. It says, you know, collectible edition. If it says collectible edition, it's not.
It's not because by that time, the word was out.
Right.
You know. So, do you have any more? I mean, I almost don't want to stop. I kind of went through everything.
I hate to even leave this set. I feel so at home. Like I should have been here back in 1987.
Right. If only we could have actually made the show for real.
Bette Midler was like right here.
Yeah. Everybody was right here. I mean, and if you were a comedian and you made Carson laugh, he would invite you directly onto the stage, which wasn't common. Letterman, I think, did that too. But I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it is, and I do thank the consignor for letting us do this, and I thank Tommy and Josh for setting up. You know, they had to truck all the way down to the other end of this warehouse just to do this.
Yeah,
and thank you very much for coming on.
It was my pleasure.
Any questions out there for us? You guys want to know anything? I'm kind of surprised we haven't had people going, "Holy cow, Johnny Carson!" You know. And here's Heritage. I saw that earlier. That was great.
Timothy.
Thanks, Tim. We really appreciate you watching, guys. This has been a pleasure. You know, we have the Plinko sign behind us, the Jeopardy booths behind us.
Yeah, it's unbelievable here. I Dream of Jeannie's costume.
Oh, that's what I wanted to show. Tommy, yes. I forgot I had this picture I wanted to show. These are the costumes in the gallery.
Yeah, you got. I mean, unbelievable, iconic. You got Batman and Robin and the Riddler. You've got Carol Burnett's famous, like when she's like sweeping up.
The chair girl.
Yeah.
You've got I Dream of Jeannie. You've got Superman.
Zorro.
You've got Bozo the Clown in the corner.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. And it's not shown here, but we've got the first year Star Trek, Kirk and Uhura too. Their outfits. And Spock's ears. And it's unbelievable.
This collection is and there's movie cameras, not movie cameras, but the actual cameras filmed the Tonight Show are on this side of the set. The All in the Family set is here.
The All in the Family
Cheers
set's
bar. We did the last show in front of the Cheers bar, and I was losing my mind.
It feels like a TV museum here.
It really does. I'm going to be very sad when it goes.
I know.
It auctions off in a week, so a week from this weekend will be the auction. I'm kind of bummed because it's been fun to just walk through the gallery. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
So it took them dozens and
this
dozens
was a
of
lot
man
of this
hours
was a lot
to
of
do.
work.
So, but I'd like to thank everybody again. If there are no questions out there, we will see you in 2 weeks. I am Brian Wiedman.
I'm Rick Akers.
And that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.